Hello everyone, I am the storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching? Now get comfortable and relax. Emma Carson arrived just as dusk kissed the tops of the pines surrounding the property. Her car rattled down the narrow gravel road, crunching through the quiet like an intruder. When the trees finally opened up, the house appeared, tall, pale, and still. It stood at the edge of the woods, 3 stories of gray siding and dark windows. Moss clung to the foundation. A narrow porch ran the length of the front, the railing warped and split in places. Emma stepped out of her car and inhaled deeply, the scent of wet pine and something faintly metallic filling her nose. The realtor hadn't stayed long after handing her the keys. He'd mumbled about paperwork and the historical character of the house. She remembered how quickly he'd driven away, tires spitting gravel. Emma was used to small spaces, city noise, neighbors stomping overhead. This was the opposite. The air felt too big, too silent. She unlocked the front door, which stuck stubbornly before creaking open into a wide foyer with wooden floors and a narrow staircase. She stood there for a while, letting the silence press in. Her phone buzzed. A message from her sister. "You alive? Hope the ghosts are friendly." Emma chuckled, texted back. "So far, so good. Just me and the spiders." She unrolled her sleeping bag in the empty living room. The moving truck wouldn't arrive until morning, so tonight it was just her, a bottle of wine, and her thoughts. She turned off the overhead light and lay in the darkness. And that's when she heard it. A hum. Faint. Continuous. Not outside. Not upstairs. From within the walls. At first, she thought it was in her head, a phantom noise from the long drive. But the more she listened, the more real it became. A steady, low frequency, like a tuning fork struck just once but left ringing eternally. She sat up and scanned the room with her phone light. The shadows in the corners seemed to pulse. The hum wasn't mechanical. It was too smooth, too intentional. "Hello?" she called, her voice barely above a whisper. The hum didn't respond, but she had the strange sensation it was listening. Unnerved, Emma grabbed her flashlight and crept down the hallway. Floorboards groaned underfoot, though she stepped lightly. She opened each door one by one, kitchen, pantry, bathroom, and found nothing but dust and darkness. The hum followed her. It didn't grow louder or fainter. It was simply there. At the base of the stairs, she paused. The hum seemed to rise slightly in pitch. Her hand trembled on the banister. "I'm just tired," she whispered. "It's the quiet. That's all." She backed away and returned to the living room. Pulled the sleeping bag around her like armor. The humming continued. Steady. Close. She lay awake for hours. It stopped at 3:11 a.m. exactly. Emma awoke with the sun cutting through the tall windows. The silence was different now, natural. Birds chirped faintly from the woods, and the distant creak of tree branches in the wind reassured her. The hum was gone. She wandered the house slowly. The upstairs bedrooms were empty but for old cloth-covered furniture. One room smelled like lavender. Another held a dust-covered mirror leaned against the wall. She studied her reflection. Her face looked pale, eyes dark from lack of sleep. Downstairs, she brewed coffee on a camp stove and stood in the kitchen, staring at the trees beyond the backyard. The peace didn't last long. At 11:47 a.m., the movers arrived. They were brisk, focused, in and out with boxes, assembling furniture quickly. But one of them, a tall guy with tired eyes, paused at the bottom of the stairs. "You got central air or something?" he asked. "No, not yet." "Why?" He pointed upward. "Weird hum. Like, almost. Singing?" Emma froze. "You heard it too?" He nodded. "Yeah. Thought maybe it was just old pipes." "Sure," she said, forcing a smile. But her stomach twisted. That night, the hum came back. This time, it started in the walls, and moved. Emma sat rigid in bed, lamp glowing at her side, listening. The hum started at the back of the house, the pantry maybe, then slowly migrated. It moved like someone humming while walking through a long hallway. It didn't fade or swell. It shifted locations. At 2:03 a.m., she heard footsteps overhead. One step. Pause. Then 2 more. Her bedroom was on the 2nd floor. There was no third. Grabbing her flashlight, she stepped into the hallway, Heart pounding. She aimed the light upward toward the ceiling. No holes. No crawl space. Nothing. Then came the sound again, a soft footfall directly above her. She turned and bolted back into her room, locking the door behind her. She didn't sleep. She watched the window until dawn. When morning came, she climbed into the attic for the first time. A narrow pull-down ladder creaked under her weight. The air was dry and thick with dust. There was nothing but old crates and a broken rocking chair. Still, she smelled lavender. She couldn't stop thinking about the mirror. That afternoon, she returned to the upstairs guest room, the one with the mirror leaning against the wall. It hadn't moved, but the glass now looked cleaner, less dusty, as if someone had wiped it recently. She knelt in front of it. Her reflection stared back, but something felt off. The light didn't reflect quite right. Her movements were a half-second behind. "Trick of the light," she muttered. As she turned to leave, she heard it. A breath. Not hers. Soft. Right behind her. She spun around. No one there. The room was still. Her heart raced. She turned back to the mirror. There were fingerprints on the glass now. Long, thin. Pressed from the inside. Emma avoided the mirror for the rest of the day. She told herself it had to be her imagination, or maybe leftover smudges she hadn't noticed. Still, something in her gut twisted when she thought about those fingerprints. The way they trailed upward, like someone sliding their hand slowly across the glass. That night, she slept with every light on. The hum didn't begin until after midnight. This time, it was accompanied by the faint scent of lavender. Not the synthetic air freshener kind, something older. Like dried flowers left in a sealed drawer for decades. Emma crept into the hallway, holding her phone out in front of her like a weapon. The hum came from the guest room, the one with the mirror. She didn't want to go in, but her feet moved anyway, slow and reluctant. The door was cracked open. She pushed it gently. The mirror now stood upright, perfectly centered against the wall. She hadn't touched it. The fingerprints were gone. She stepped back slowly. The hum behind the walls grew louder, vibrating faintly beneath her skin. She backed down the hallway, not turning her back to the room until she reached her own door. She closed it and slid a chair against the knob. She couldn't sleep. Not with that humming. Not with that mirror standing like a sentinel down the hall. At 3:33 a.m., the humming stopped. That was almost worse. The next morning, Emma returned to the guest room with a bottle of Windex and a rag. If the mirror was going to haunt her, it was at least going to be clean. She sprayed the glass and wiped, once, twice. On the third pass, she froze. There was something in the reflection. Not behind her. Not in the room. In the glass. A man's face. Thin. Gone. His eyes were wide and sunken, mouth slack, as though caught mid-sigh. He wasn't looking at her, he was looking out, as if straining to see through water. Emma dropped the cloth and staggered back, knocking over a box of old books. When she looked again, the mirror only showed her own pale, horrified face. She took the mirror down and shoved it against the wall, facing backward. The silence afterward felt heavy. Almost disappointed. That night, she dreamed of the man, standing in the attic, swaying slightly, lips moving but no sound escaping. His eyes locked onto hers. In the dream, the hum was deafening. When she woke, her nose bled onto her pillow. The next day passed in a haze. Emma considered leaving. She even packed a bag. But some stubborn part of her refused, as if running would confirm she'd lost her mind. At sunset, she opened a bottle of wine and tried to relax. She left the lights on. Ignored the mirror. Ate a cold dinner in the kitchen while scrolling through social media, pretending everything was normal. At 12:41 a.m., the knocking started. 3 sharp raps, from inside the wall behind her headboard. She bolted upright, staring at the spot. Silence returned. Then, again, knock knock knock. She stepped away from the bed and pressed her ear to the wall. For a moment, there was only the faint hum, soft, almost like breathing. Then came a whisper. She couldn't make out the words, but she felt them in her spine. Urgent. Hollow. Lonely. Emma fled the room and slept on the couch. The attic hatch hung above the hallway, undisturbed. But that morning, Emma found the ladder already down. She hadn't touched it since her first visit. The smell of lavender was stronger here, woven with dust and wood rot. The attic was dim, lit by a single slit of light from a small circular window. As she climbed, the humming began again, faint but constant. She reached the top. The rocking chair stood in the center, slowly swaying. No wind. No movement. Just the creak of its back and forth. Emma's breath caught as she noticed something else. In the dust on the attic floor, there were footprints. Barefoot. Too long. Moving in slow circles. She backed down the ladder without turning around. Later that evening, the attic ladder retracted on its own, with a soft click. It changed on the 10th night. Emma sat in the living room with all the lights on, music playing low. She didn't want to hear the hum. If she could keep noise between her and it, maybe it would fade. But tonight, the hum pierced through everything. It rose in pitch, became almost melodic. Not random, intentional. Like someone trying to sing through a closed mouth. She covered her ears. It didn't help. The sound buzzed inside her skull. Then it stopped. Just for a moment. And from behind her, inches from her ear, a voice whispered. "You hear me now?" Emma screamed, knocking over the lamp. The light flickered and died. In the dark, something moved past her. Fast. Cold. She grabbed her keys, fled outside, and sat on the porch until sunrise, shivering beneath a blanket, too afraid to look at the windows. After that night, Emma knew something had shifted. The house wasn't just humming, it was speaking. It wasn't a metaphor. It wasn't poetic. It was real. She needed answers. She spent the morning in town, drinking terrible diner coffee and asking questions no one wanted to answer. The town was small, cloistered, and wary of outsiders. When she mentioned the address, people stiffened or suddenly remembered appointments. Except for one person. An old man at the hardware store leaned on the counter and squinted at her. "You're in the Ellis place?" Emma nodded. "Yeah. Moved in last week." He grunted. "Wouldn't have taken you for the type." "What type?" "The type who lives with ghosts." Emma laughed nervously. "You think it's haunted?" He didn't smile. "I think that house remembers things. And it don't like being forgotten." He reached beneath the counter and produced a battered cassette tape. "You want to know what you're dealing with? Listen to this. You'll hear the hum. But that ain't the worst part." Emma hesitated. "Where did you get it?" "Sheriff's office found it in '97. Belonged to a woman named Dana Ellis. Last person who stayed there long." "What happened to her?" "She walked into the woods one night. Never came back." Emma took the tape. Her hands trembled slightly. That night, she found her old tape player, popped in the cassette, and pressed play. The hum was there, low and deep. It pulsed like a heartbeat. Then, layered under it, a woman's voice whispering. "It comes through the walls. It wants a name. It wants a name." The recording ended in static, and a scream. Emma replayed the tape half a dozen times, focusing on the whispers. Dana's voice grew more frantic toward the end, her words a jumbled mess. "It watches from the glass. It learned my name. Once it knows, it comes." Emma stopped the tape. She didn't sleep that night, afraid to speak her own name aloud, afraid the house would hear it. The next morning, she called her sister, Anna. "Why'd you really move there?" Anna asked after a long silence. Emma hesitated. Needed quiet. You've always hated quiet." Emma didn't answer. "You sound weird. Like. Different." "Just tired." "Have you been sleeping?" "No." Anna lowered her voice. "Do you want me to come visit?" Emma opened her mouth to say yes, but something stopped her. A pressure in her chest. As if the house itself leaned in. "No. I'm fine," she said. The moment she hung up, the hum started again, soft and steady. That night, she avoided the mirror room, the attic, the bedroom. She curled up on the couch like a child. But as she drifted to sleep, she heard a whisper near her ear. "Emma." She hadn't said her name aloud all day. Something else had. There was a door in the kitchen she hadn't opened. Half concealed behind a shelf, painted over long ago. She'd noticed it on move-in day but dismissed it. Now she knew better. Armed with a hammer, she chipped away the paint and pulled the door open. It revealed a narrow staircase descending into darkness. The smell of mold and earth rushed up to meet her. She descended slowly, flashlight trembling in her grip. The stairs creaked, and the air grew colder with each step. The basement was wide and unfinished. Stone walls. Dirt floor. Old shelves lined with rusting tools and shattered jars. In the far corner stood a large wooden wardrobe, completely out of place. Emma approached it cautiously. Something about it was wrong. Not just out of place, wrong in a fundamental, cellular way. She opened it. Inside, instead of shelves or clothes, there was a mirror. Cracked. Framed in dark oak. Just like the one upstairs. And in its reflection, she saw herself. But she wasn't alone. A figure stood just behind her shoulder, tall, thin, pale eyes staring through her. She turned. No one there. When she looked back at the mirror, the glass was empty. The hum had followed her into the ground. Emma bought an audio recorder. She left it running in different rooms each night, hoping to prove she wasn't crazy. Maybe if she could capture it, she could understand it. The first night, she left it in the guest room, the one with the mirror. When she played it back in the morning, it started with silence. Then the hum began. Hello, bone-deep vibration. Then came the whispering. She sees me. She knows. She knows the name. A second voice joined in, deeper, distorted, like someone speaking from underwater. Take her mouth. Take her mouth. Emma dropped the recorder. When she bent to pick it up, she noticed something scratched into the wood floor, previously hidden beneath a rug. Letters. Worn but legible. Let me out. She didn't recognize the handwriting, but the way the words twisted along the grain felt familiar, like a memory she never made. By the 15th night, Emma had covered every mirror in the house. Bathroom. Guest room. Basement. Even the shiny door of the microwave. She couldn't look at reflections anymore. Too many times she'd seen something else staring back. A hand behind her that wasn't hers. A shadow in a frame. But they didn't like being ignored. The hum grew louder. Windows vibrated. Cabinets opened on their own. The mirror in the attic, the one inside the wardrobe, shattered. No one had touched it. That night, Emma found handprints on every mirror she'd covered, pressed from inside. Smudges streaked downward, desperate and angry. And on her bathroom mirror, under the cloth, someone had written 2 words in steam. Say it. Emma was preparing to board up the attic door when a knock came at the front entrance. Sharp. Rhythmic. Normal. She nearly cried with relief. She opened the door to find a woman standing on the porch, late 50s, hair gray and pulled tight, wearing a cardigan despite the summer heat. Her eyes were pale, unreadable. Emma Carson? The woman asked. Emma nodded. Who are you? The woman didn't smile. Marjorie Ellis. My mother lived here. Before Dana. I grew up in this house. Emma stared, stunned. Ellis? Wait, Dana Ellis? Marjorie nodded slowly. My cousin. She inherited the house in '96. Moved in alone. What happened to her? She vanished, Marjorie said flatly. Walked into the woods, just like my mother did. Just like her father. Emma let her in. They sat in the kitchen. Marjorie glanced around warily, her eyes lingering on the ceiling. It starts with the humming, she said. You hear it in your bones. Then it finds you. What is it? Emma asked. A parasite, Marjorie said. It doesn't have a body. It lives in reflections. Sounds. Dreams. It waits for someone to listen long enough, to speak its name. What name? Marjorie hesitated. I don't know. That's the thing. It wants you to name it. When you do, that's when it steps through. Emma's throat was dry. You've seen it? Marjorie looked up, eyes hollow. I was 9. My brother said its name. He disappeared that night. Emma shivered. How do I stop it? Marjorie stood. You don't. You leave. Or you feed it someone else. Emma stared at her. Marjorie looked her straight in the eye. Choose soon, she said, and walked out. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She stood in the hallway for hours, watching the attic door. The humming had grown more erratic, rising and falling like breath. She wandered aimlessly until something in the corner of the upstairs hall caught her eye, a crack in the paneling near the mirror room. She pried at it until a piece of wood flaked away, revealing something behind the wall. Paper. She pulled out a yellowed envelope marked with a name, to whoever listens. Inside were dozens of handwritten pages. The ink was faded but readable. It was Dana's handwriting. I made the mistake of talking to it. I thought I was dreaming. I thought it was loneliness. It whispered sweet things, it begged me. It used my mother's voice. It doesn't have a face, only mirrors to wear. It lives between walls. Between sounds. I asked it questions. Then it asked me one. What is my name? I didn't answer. I think that's the only reason I'm still me. But I can feel it scratching. It's learning me. The way you learn the words of a song by listening to it again and again. Emma dropped the pages. She felt watched. Not from the doorway, not from the stairs, from the walls. The hum rose in pitch behind the wood. It was learning her. By the following night, the scratches started. At first, Emma thought it was mice. Then raccoons. Anything rational. But when she put her ear to the wall, she heard it clearly, long, slow scratches, like fingernails trailing through plaster. She grabbed a knife from the kitchen and returned upstairs, every light on in the house. The sound moved as she did. Wherever she walked, the scratching followed. Not loud, not fast, just persistent. It scraped along the inside of the wall behind her bed. Then across the floorboards. Then overhead. She covered the mirror in the guest room with a blanket and nailed the edges down. But when she passed it again minutes later, the cloth had been torn away. The glass shone dark. Emma caught a flicker of motion. A face again. But this time, it was her face. Mouth moving. Eyes wide. She whispered aloud, "No." The reflection answered with a perfect mimicry. "No," it said. Then it smiled. Emma threw a towel over it and ran. That night, she moved the dresser against her bedroom door. The humming started again. Only now, it hummed in time with her heartbeat. Emma began to lose time. She'd find herself standing in rooms she didn't remember entering. She'd wake up with dirt under her nails, lavender clinging to her sheets. One morning, she found a page in her notebook, written in her own hand. It has no name, but I hear it speaking through mine. The dreams grew more vivid. She wandered endless hallways with mirrored walls, her reflection walking ahead of her, not in sync. It beckoned, mouthed words she couldn't hear, until she drew closer. Then it screamed. "Say it." She jolted awake with a scream of her own, the echoes bouncing through the house. The mirrors had all gone fogged. Even the ones she'd covered. Later that night, as she lay wrapped in blankets, a voice spoke from the wall beside her bed, not a whisper this time. Clear. Sharp. "You've said so much. Say one more word." She kept her mouth shut. Bit her lip. Drew blood. The humming stopped suddenly. But she knew better than to hope. It was waiting. Emma hadn't heard from Anna in days. She hadn't wanted to tell her what was happening. What could she even say? The house was haunted by a humming parasite that lived in mirrors and whispered lies. But that morning, Emma checked her voicemail. There was one from Anna. "Hey, Em. I don't know. I had a dream about you. You were in a house, but it wasn't your house. It was all glass. You were calling me, but I couldn't reach you. And you kept saying my name. Only. It wasn't you. It was your voice, but not your face." Emma's stomach sank. Then a second voicemail played, static at first. Then Anna's voice again. Frantic. "Em, I think I heard something in my bathroom. I didn't look in the mirror. I swear. But I heard you. You were humming. You're not here, are you?" Then silence. Emma sat perfectly still, phone trembling in her hand. It had found her sister. She whispered a single word into the room, against the static rising in her ears. "No." The humming resumed, louder than ever. Emma didn't sleep. She sat at the foot of her bed, eyes locked on the window, half expecting Anna to walk through the trees and appear at her door, or worse, at the edge of her mirror. At 3:17 a.m., her phone rang. Anna. She hesitated. The humming was quiet now, as if it too were listening. Emma answered. Silence. Then a click. Breathing. A voice, Anna's voice. I'm sorry. I was scared. I didn't mean to listen." Emma gripped the phone tightly. "Where are you?" "I'm in your room." Emma turned slowly. Her bedroom was empty. "I can see you." The voice over the line chuckled, a subtle shift, just enough to sour the sound. "Not there, silly. The other room." The line went dead. Emma ran. Through the hall. Up the attic stairs. She yanked the wardrobe open. The mirror inside was no longer cracked. Instead, it shimmered with a dull, living depth, like oil on water. A shifting surface, not glass. And in it, Anna, standing in a dark hallway, calling her name. "Emma! Help me! Please!" Then a figure stepped behind her. Tall. Thin. Pale. Its hands reached for Anna's mouth. Anna screamed. The surface of the mirror rippled. Emma reached toward it, instinct taking over. And for a moment, her fingers passed through the surface, as if it were water. But when she pulled back, her fingertips were coated in blood. Emma didn't know how long she sat on the floor, staring into the mirror. Anna was gone. The surface had gone still. The humming returned, stronger, deeper, resonating like a chant beneath her ribs. She left the attic, moving through the house with purpose. She returned to the basement and tore the wardrobe away from the wall. Behind it, the bricks looked uneven, as if something had once broken out. She smashed the wall. Behind the bricks, a hidden room. Cold. Narrow. Padded with layers of black cloth nailed to the walls, soundproofing. At its center sat an old armchair, surrounded by broken mirrors. Shards lined the floor in a twisted spiral. And in one intact shard, Emma saw Anna again. Not screaming this time, but staring. Mouth closed. Eyes pleading. Emma stepped forward, breath fogging the surface. "You took her," she said aloud. "Take me instead." The room shuddered. The hum rose. In the mirror, Anna vanished. Replaced by Emma's own face, twisted and smiling, mouth moving without sound. Then a voice, low and terrible, spoke from every shard at once, at last. A name given freely. The lights in the room went black. And the mirror spoke in Emma's voice, "Come and see." Emma awoke on the floor. Blood trickled from one ear. Her body ached, but the mirror was glowing, not with light, but with invitation. She reached toward it again. This time, the surface gave way like liquid. Her hand went in. Then her arm. The humming became music. Discordant. Unnatural. She stepped through. The world on the other side was not a mirror image. It was darker. Smaller. Everything dripped. Floors, walls, ceilings, as if the house had been built of memories melting into decay. Emma walked through the twisted halls. Her footsteps made no sound. The doors she passed opened without her touch. Each room held a reflection of a memory, not hers, but others. A girl crying into her pillow while something watched from her closet. A man screaming into a mirror that didn't reflect him. A child whispering names into a drain. She kept moving until she reached the attic again, this time upside down, with candles burning on the ceiling and blood running uphill. Anna was there. Floating. Eyes wide open. Mouth sewn shut. Emma ran to her, pulled at the threads across her sister's lips. Anna trembled. And behind her, the tall thing emerged again. Faceless now, only darkness and limbs. It reached out. Emma screamed. But Anna's mouth opened. She whispered one word. And the creature stopped. Anna's voice was dry and thin, but it carried. She whispered something into Emma's ear, a name. Emma didn't remember learning it. She'd never heard it before. Yet it felt familiar, like a song from childhood you never realized you knew. The creature paused, limbs folding inward, twitching at the sound. It hated the name. Emma turned to face it. "That's what you wanted, isn't it? A name." The shadows recoiled. "You steal our faces, our sounds, you feed on our identities. But now you have a name of your own." The air crackled. Mirrors on the walls cracked. The thing shrieked, a sound that folded in on itself, a reverse symphony. Then the world shook. The humming turned into a scream. The realm cracked like glass. Shards of unreality tore free from the floor and the ceiling. Anna grabbed Emma's hand. They ran. Back through the bleeding doorways. Past the memories. Through the mirror they'd entered from, now splitting into 1,000 versions of itself. As they leapt, Emma looked back one final time. The thing wasn't chasing them anymore. It was crumbling. Erasing itself. The name had rooted it, made it finite. They landed in the basement. Back in the real world. Emma boarded up the mirror. The hum didn't return. For 3 nights, the house was silent. On the 4th, Anna stirred on the couch. She opened her eyes. "Did we make it?" Emma nodded. The morning sunlight seemed different, realer, somehow. Outside, the woods looked smaller. Less oppressive. They stayed another day, just to be sure. And on that day, Emma found something in the attic. A mirror shard, too small to matter. But it hummed. Faintly. When she held it to her ear, she didn't hear the parasite. She heard herself. Singing. A song she didn't remember learning. That night, they packed and left the house behind. They didn't tell anyone what happened. Who would believe them? But every now and then, when Emma passes a window on a quiet night, she sees a flicker. A face. Sometimes hers. Sometimes not. And once, just once, she heard a voice whisper from the dark corner of her bedroom mirror, "You give me a name. I'll give you one, too." Then silence. Except for a sound. Not quite music. Not quite a hum. But something waiting. Still. Emma didn't sleep that night. She sat in the creaky motel chair, one leg folded beneath her, the other jittering restlessly, eyes locked on the mirror now wrapped tightly in a hand towel and stuffed into the fridge. She could still feel it, buzzing. Not audibly, but beneath her skin, like a mosquito under her scalp. A vibration just behind her eyes. Anna slept uneasily, mumbling into the pillow, sweat soaking her neck. She kept whispering fragments in her sleep. Emma leaned closer at one point, barely breathing. "Don't look. Don't hum. It sees. It sees you now." Emma swallowed hard and returned to the table. She knew what she'd heard earlier that night. Not a hallucination. Not a delusion. She knew the word. Or something like a word. It didn't have syllables the way language did. It wasn't something you could speak without feeling like you were cutting your tongue open. It hurt to even think. She tried to write it. Her hand twitched. The pen snapped. Ink spilled across the paper like blood. She tried again on her laptop, fingers shaking as she hovered over the keyboard, but the keys blurred, and the screen glitched out, flickering with static that pulsed in time with her heartbeat. The thing had a name. And now she knew it. But she hadn't spoken it aloud. And that scared her more than anything. Because it meant the entity wasn't just lingering, it was bonded. Connected to her in ways neither science nor spirituality could explain. It had carved itself into her memory like a parasite that wore recollection as a mask. In the morning, Emma brewed coffee and handed a cup to Anna, who had dark rings under her eyes. "I think it's following us," Anna said flatly. Emma stared. "It's not following us. It's in us." Anna didn't blink. "I hear it when I'm awake now. When I look at puddles. Windows. Not even mirrors. Anything that reflects." Emma nodded. "Same." Anna gripped the cup tighter. "Do you remember what Dana said in the attic? Before she—" "Yeah," Emma said softly. "It waits until you remember." Anna hesitated. "Do you remember now?" Emma didn't answer. Anna's hands trembled. "I think we brought it back. Like a seed. And now it's growing." A low hum started between them, not in the room, but in their mouths. Neither of them had spoken. But both their lips had moved. At the same time. Emma clapped her hands over her face. The fridge behind her clicked open. The cloth-wrapped mirror had shifted. It wanted to be seen. And Emma, despite herself, was beginning to understand why. Emma didn't touch the mirror. She used tongs from the kitchenette drawer to grip the cloth, wrapping it again and stuffing it deeper into the fridge beneath the freezer tray. As the door shut, she swore she heard it exhale. The cold wouldn't do anything. She knew that. But it was the only thing that made her feel remotely in control, like there was still a boundary between herself and whatever lived on the other side of that glass. Anna sat cross-legged on the bed, staring into her hands. She hadn't spoken since the hum incident, when both of their mouths moved without consent. Emma could still feel it on her lips, the shape of something ancient, unnatural, wriggling into the world like a worm forced through flesh. That night, Anna went to the bathroom to brush her teeth. But 10 minutes passed. Then 15. Emma knocked on the door. "Anna?" No reply. Another knock. Finally, she opened it. Anna stood at the sink, toothbrush dangling from her lips, unmoving. Her gaze wasn't fixed on the mirror. Emma had smashed it hours earlier. No, she was staring at the water pooling in the sink basin, watching it spiral slowly toward the drain. The overhead light buzzed. "Anna?" Emma touched her shoulder. Anna blinked, slowly, as if waking from anesthesia. Her voice was faint, dry. "I heard them." Emma tilted her head. "Who?" "All of them. Every one of them. The ones it took. The ones that stayed." Emma led her gently back to bed, laying her down and covering her with her blanket. Anna shivered as if the room had no heat, even though the thermostat was turned high. "They're trapped in there," Anna whispered. "The reflections. They're not just images. They're memories. Souls. Fragments. It collects them, Emma. Like a curator." Emma didn't respond. That night, sleep pulled her under like a black tide. She dreamed of the house again. But this time it wasn't in ruins. It was immaculate, the walls whitewashed and gleaming, the chandeliers glowing. People danced in the hallway, smiling. Their faces were smooth, featureless, mannequins in motion. She passed through them like a ghost. In the attic, a single mirror stood upright, framed in black iron, humming softly. Emma stepped toward it. Her reflection wasn't the same. This Emma was older. Decades older. Gray-haired, hollow-eyed, face lined with exhaustion and despair. "I tried," the older Emma whispered from the mirror. "But you can't destroy what doesn't want to die. You can only feed it. Or become it." The mirror cracked. A spiderweb fracture split both of their faces down the middle. Emma woke with a scream lodged in her throat, soaked in sweat. She rolled over, and froze. The mirror from the fridge lay on her pillow. Unwrapped. And her reflection inside blinked a second too late. They thought the nightmare was behind them. Emma and Anna packed their bags with trembling hands, eager to leave the motel in the suffocating weight of the mirror's presence. They planned to drive as far away as possible, a fresh start. A clean slate. But fate had other plans. Their rented car sputtered and died just 30 miles down the highway. The engine ceased with no warning, no sputter, just an abrupt silence that swallowed the sound of the road. Emma cursed and banged the steering wheel. Anna sat frozen, staring out the window at the endless trees crowding the roadside like silent sentinels. Emma stepped out and waved at a passing pickup. A man pulled over, middle-aged, sunburned, with a thick mustache and grease-stained hands. "I'm Carlos," he said. "I'll tow you to my shop. Should be an easy fix." At the garage, Carlos worked diligently, promising to have them back on the road by morning. But when night fell, he disappeared. Emma's curiosity gnawed at her. She found him in the back room, standing, motionless, in front of a tall mirror, hands hanging loosely by his sides, blood dripping slowly from his ears. His vacant eyes stared ahead. Emma's stomach clenched. She grabbed Anna's arm, pulling her back just as Carlos's reflection twisted and warped in the glass. Without thinking, Emma grabbed a nearby crowbar and swung it hard at the mirror. The glass shattered, shards spraying like frozen rain. But the silence didn't break. The humming grew louder, enveloping the garage. Windows and mirrors all around began to vibrate softly, pulsing with the same low hum. Even the car's metallic surface seemed to ripple, reflecting light in impossible ways. Emma and Anna fled into the night. The hum followed them, persistent, mocking. At the next motel, Emma's resolve solidified. "It's not the house anymore," she said, eyes wide and wild. "It's inside us now. The thing. It's bound to us." Anna shuddered. "Then what? What do we do?" Emma swallowed hard. "We finish it. It needs a name. Names bind spirits, anchor them. I think if we speak it, the true name, we can trap it. Lock it away." Anna's face paled. "But you said the name is dangerous." Emma nodded. "It is. But the silence feeds it. The unknown is its power. Naming it gives us control." Anna took a shaky breath. "Do you know the name?" Emma's lips trembled. "I think I do." Anna stepped back, eyes wide. "Then maybe you've already given it strength." The hum grew deafening. Their breath fogged the windows. And from the bathroom mirror, one they hadn't dared touch, a soft song began to rise, low and haunting. The motel room had turned into a prison. Emma and Anna unplugged the television and covered every reflective surface with thick towels and sheets. They smashed the small bathroom mirror into 1,000 shards, but the hum, that terrible, low vibration, only grew louder. Anna stood at the center of the room, clutching her head, rocking slightly back and forth. "It's inside my head," she whispered. "I can't stop hearing it." Emma opened her journal, running trembling fingers over the strange words she'd written, the name. The letters seemed to shift and rearrange themselves every time she looked, as if the page itself was alive. The lights flickered violently overhead, casting long, dancing shadows that slithered across the walls. The floor beneath their feet vibrated, a deep rumble that seemed to rise from the earth itself. And then, from every reflective surface they thought they had hidden, the glossy paint of the fire alarm, the polished edge of the doorknob, the lenses of Anna's glasses, faces appeared. Not just Emma's or Anna's. Dozens of faces stared back at them, pressed tight behind invisible glass, men, women, children. Eyes wide with terror. Mouths sewn shut in silent screams. Anna collapsed to her knees, sobbing. "What do we do?" she cried. Emma's voice was firm, desperate. "We speak the name. Together." Anna hesitated, terror flickering in her eyes. "Won't that bring it fully into us?" Emma nodded grimly. "Yes. But if it's inside us already, maybe we can lock it away, bind it." Anna looked up and met Emma's gaze. They whispered the name once. The room exploded with a cacophony of glass shattering inward, shards flying like frozen stars collapsing toward their centers. Blood oozed from the cracks in the walls, pooling and spilling like spilled ink. In the midst of the chaos, a figure began to take shape. Tall. Faceless. Limbs twisting like shadows cast in moonlight. Its body reflected nothing. No light. No image. Just a hollow void where meaning should be. Emma took a step forward, voice trembling but resolute. "This is your name," she said. "And now, you belong to us." The figure hovered in the center of the shattered room, a living absence, a black hole in the fabric of reality that seemed to swallow all light and hope. Emma felt the temperature drop sharply as the shadows curled like smoke around the edges of the motel room. Anna clung to her arm, her nails digging into Emma's skin, her eyes wide with terror. "It's here," Anna whispered, voice trembling. "We spoke its name. We brought it in." Emma nodded, heart pounding. "Yes. But now it's trapped, in us. We've bound it." The entity didn't move. It simply watched, faceless, a void hungry for meaning. The broken glass around them shimmered faintly, reflecting the impossible blackness of the figure. Emma tried to steady her breath. "We have to contain it. We have to understand it." Anna shook her head. "But what if we're wrong? What if naming it gave it more power?" Emma swallowed hard, thinking of the fractured reflections, the stolen souls trapped behind glass. "Then we fight. We keep it inside. We don't let it out." A sudden, chilling whisper echoed through the room, a voice without a source. "You belong to me." Anna screamed, covering her ears. Emma reached for her, but the sound vibrated through their bones, rattling every fiber of their being. Then silence. Only the faint hum remained. Emma looked down at her trembling hands. "We've started something we don't fully understand," Anna whispered. "Can we finish it?" Emma's gaze hardened. "We have to." Morning light filtered weakly through the grimy motel curtains, but it brought no comfort. Emma sat on the edge of the bed, tracing the jagged scars on her wrist from where the shattered glass had cut her in the chaos. Anna lay curled up beside her, eyes closed but twitching, as if still trapped in a nightmare. The figure from last night had vanished, but its presence lingered like a thick fog inside the room, seeping into every corner, every breath. The hum had faded, replaced by an eerie stillness that pressed on Emma's chest, making it hard to breathe. "We can't stay here," Emma said softly. "It's waiting for us to falter." Anna opened her eyes, dark and haunted. "Where do we go? Every reflection is a trap." Emma glanced around at the piles of cloth and paper covering the mirrors and windows. "We'll find a place without mirrors. Maybe somewhere remote, where it can't reach." Anna nodded but didn't move. "I keep hearing voices. Whispers just beneath the surface." Emma's heart sank. "Me too. They're memories, trapped souls calling out." Anna shivered. "What if we can't save them?" "We have to try." Suddenly, the old radio on the bedside table crackled to life, static filling the room. Emma reached over, fingers trembling, and turned the dial. A voice came through, distorted and hollow. "The name binds the collector. Speak it thrice to the void." The radio clicked off. Emma looked at Anna, breathless. Someone, or something, is trying to help. Anna's lips parted in a whisper, "Or lure us deeper." The shadows lengthened as the sun climbed higher. They had a choice: run blindly or face the darkness within. The next morning, the air outside was thick with mist, hanging low over the highway like a shroud. Emma and Anna sat in the car, parked by the roadside, trying to collect themselves. The miles behind them felt meaningless, the entity's shadow trailed them relentlessly. Emma checked her phone, no signal. The map app froze, as if the digital world itself resisted guiding them. "We need a plan," Anna said quietly, fingers nervously tapping the steering wheel. "We can't just run forever." Emma nodded. The radio message. "Speak the name thrice. That might lock it away." Anna frowned. "But what if the void answers? What if saying the name calls it closer?" Emma hesitated. "Then we fight fire with fire." They sat in silence, the car's engine idling, their breaths shallow. Suddenly, Anna's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "The mirror is everywhere. Trust no reflection." Emma's skin prickled. "How does it know?" Anna swallowed. "It is everywhere now. It's in us." Emma took a deep breath. "Tonight, we do it. We find a safe place, say the name 3 times, and bind it." Anna forced a weak smile. "Let's hope we're strong enough." As dusk fell, they pulled off into a small abandoned chapel deep in the woods, its stained glass windows cracked, the door hanging ajar. Inside, the silence was deafening. Emma found a spot near the altar, spreading out the journal with the name carefully written inside. Anna closed her eyes, whispering a prayer. The air grew cold. The shadows shifted. The final confrontation had begun. The chapel smelled of damp wood and forgotten memories. Dust motes danced in the shafts of fading light through the cracked stained glass, casting fractured colors over the cracked stone floor. Emma and Anna set down candles, arranging them in a shaky circle around the altar, where Emma carefully laid out the open journal. Anna's hands trembled as she held a small silver locket, a keepsake from her grandmother, who had always believed in protective charms. "Whatever happens," Anna whispered, "promise me we stick together." Emma reached out, squeezing her friend's hand. "I promise." They knelt in the center of the circle, the silence pressing in until their whispered breaths were loud in the stillness. Emma took a deep breath, staring down at the written name. 3 times, she said. "Together." They began. The name, the name, the name. The air thickened, heavy and charged. Shadows stretched and pulled at the edges of the candlelight, flickering unnaturally. The broken glass embedded in the chapel walls seemed to hum, vibrating in harmony with the whispered syllables. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted. Frost blossomed on the altar stones as a chilling wind swept through the chapel, snuffing out all but one candle. A soft, hollow voice echoed, speaking directly inside their minds, "You cannot bind what lives in shadow." Anna shivered violently. "It's here." Emma's voice wavered, but she pressed on, repeating the name once more, louder, stronger. A figure began to materialize, tall and featureless, its void-like body absorbing the dim candlelight, swallowing it whole. Its presence pressed on their chests like a physical weight. Emma gritted her teeth. "You belong to us now." Anna added, voice cracking, "You will not escape." The entity recoiled, letting out a sound that was neither scream nor sigh, a noise that tore at the edges of sanity. Then, silence. The frost melted. The air warmed. The candles blazed brighter. The circle held. Emma and Anna collapsed, gasping for breath. "We did it," Anna whispered. Emma nodded slowly, though her heart still pounded. "For now." Dawn crept through the broken stained glass windows, splashing pale light across the chapel's stone floor. Emma and Anna lay curled on the cold ground inside the candle circle, still trembling from the ritual's exhaustion. The heavy silence that followed was different, not empty but watchful, expectant. The air no longer buzzed with unseen vibrations, instead, a calm settled, like the pause before a storm. Anna sat up slowly, rubbing her wrists where the cold had left faint frostbite marks. "Do you think it's really over?" Emma looked around the chapel, eyes lingering on the shards of colored glass that glinted like scattered jewels. "I don't know. But the binding felt real. The circle held." Anna shivered and pulled her jacket tighter around her. "I'm scared, Emma. What if it's just waiting? Growing stronger inside us?" Emma nodded, understanding the fear all too well. "We need to keep moving, keep vigilant. This thing. It's ancient. It doesn't vanish easily." The 2 friends rose, brushing dust and dirt from their clothes. As they gathered their belongings, Emma felt a faint tug in her chest, like a whisper just out of reach. She closed her eyes. For a moment, she thought she heard a voice, distant, soft, almost pleading. "Remember." Emma's breath caught. Anna noticed immediately. "What is it?" Emma shook her head. "I don't know. But it's still with us." Outside, the wind stirred the trees, leaves rustling like quiet warnings. They stepped out into the early morning light, the weight of the night's battle lingering in the air. The world felt changed. Uncertain. And the shadows behind their eyes promised the story was far from over.